All right, I'm gonna redo the turret paper on my AR today. I thought it'd be a good idea to film it. That way I could go through every process of how I'm gonna do it after I already have the feet per second figured for my bullet and all that. I already know what my load's doing, so now I just want to touch up this paper. Right now I've just got it sticky paper on there, wrote on there with ink pen. I'm going to print one off on the computer, and I'm going to show you exactly how I do that. So if you plan on going on a hunt somewhere that's 6,000 feet elevation, and I'm currently at 2,500 feet, you can hop on your computer and you can change your sticky paper on there, and your gun will be on for that 5,000 feet elevation. So let's get that turret off of there. And this Leopold scope, it has little set screws. Now I want to make sure that the scope is on 0, and I don't want to rotate it because I want to take it off. I want to be able to put it right back on where I took it off at. And you can feel it starting to loosen up. Let me get this one back here. There, it'll rotate freely. Now you gotta have these out far enough that it comes completely off. So there it is. It's completely off. Now I need to get this sticker off of here, which I don't know, it might take some doing because it's been on here for a while. And it is. It's going to take a little doing. So I'm going to go get this sticker off of here, and then I'll start the camera back up when I start to do the process. Alright, I got all the paper off of that turret. It was stuck on there really well. So now I'm going to move this gun out of the way. And I'm going to bring a paper cutter in here. Alright, now I'm just going to cut off a small little sliver, probably 3/16 of an inch wide, and it's a little over, probably 5 inches long. See, just a little sliver here. Okay, now I have some just little scraps from address labels. They go in the printer, and I'm going to cut off just a little scab of that because I'm going to use it for tape. Then, now I'm going to peel the backing off of it. And I'm going to stick it on one end of my paper and leave just a little bit sticking out so I can stick it onto the turret. Okay, I get the turret, I find 0 on the mills, or the 1, because this was a cut turret. That's how it came on the scope. But I want to put this paper to leave that 0 exposed. So I want to put it 0.1 mils up from that 0. And I want to leave the mills on the bottom exposed so I can mark them out. I'm going to go ahead and stick it down, and then I can rotate it all the way around the turret. Okay, and then if I want to mark it back to where it meets the paper back up. Sometimes I like to leave a gap in there just so I can see where 0 is on the scope. So let me get a pencil. Okay, got my pencil. Now I'm going to mark this where this paper needs to end. Okay. And then I'll put it in the paper cutter here. Cut it off on that line I just marked. check it, make sure it's good. It is good. I left a space there for my 0. And put it on the other end of the paper, like so. So it's good and stuck down. Alright, now I'm going to go around with the pencil and mark every single one of those mills. And you want to be really precise about this. So I'm going to get those marked out and I'll come back. Alright, I got all the little lines marked out on here. I couldn't label the 0.5 mils because of the tape that I got over top of it, but I was able to mark the 1, the 1.5, the 2, the 2.5, all the way around till I get clear back to 0. So now that I got it all marked out, I'm going to take the tape back off of there, and I'm going to tape it down to a piece of paper. So I'm going to get that done. I got it off of that turret. I got just a piece of scrap paper that I cut the end of it off. I'm just going to lay it on here. Just take some random Scotch tape, get you a piece that will cover that whole turret paper, and just put it right over top of the turret paper. Okay, just like so. Now we're going to take a digital caliper, get it turned on and zeroed. Okay, now I'm going to measure the length of that paper exactly. Looks like I have 3.08, so I'm going to write it on here, 3.08 inches. Okay. Now we will take this, get a picture of it with this camera, obviously the one I'm using to record with. I'm going to have to take it off and take a picture of this and upload it to my computer. So I will get that done, and I will meet you at the computer. Okay. I put the SD card in the computer, in my little SD card reader. Let's pull up the USB drive E and see what's on this SD card. Okay, today, I don't know if I have the date set right on that camera or not, but I took this image, 3.08, that's the one. So we need to take this image, drag it over to pictures, and save it to a copy to our pictures on our computer. Okay, now that we got that done, we need to open up our Photoshop. So let's get Photoshop cranked up here. And we click Edit on Photoshop. Now, I have the Adobe Photoshop Elements 10. Okay, this is an older program, but it works just fine. So we'll get this drugged down here, and so we can work on it. So we select pictures on our file. We find the file that we just dropped, which is right here. We drag it down here, drop it on our Photoshop. All right. So we have it down here on Photoshop where we can work on it. Now we're going to select this crop tool right here. Okay? We select that crop tool, and we are going to crop this picture just that piece of tape that our measurements are on. Oh, I selected it in the wrong spot. I have to do this again. Now it's important that you get right to the end of the tape. You gotta be fairly precise on this. Now we can drag this in a little ways to get right at the end of the tape. Okay, and if you're not straight, you can grab up here in the corner of it and rotate it to level it out. Okay, now that looks good, so we're going to click this green check mark that says okay, we got it. Okay, now up here on the top of the screen it has the width of what this is. Okay, we measured it, it was 3.08. 3.08 is what we're going to type in up here, and height 0.4 inches, just under a half inch, is just fine. So we got that, our measurements put in up there, which should be good. Now let's do a test print, but we have to select image at the top, resize, and we want to resize the canvas. After we've done everything we've done, now we want to resize the canvas. Okay, and the canvas, we want it the size of a piece of typing paper. So the width is 8 inches, the height is 11 inches. Okay, and we want to make sure inches is selected over here. Hit OK. Resizes it. Now we want to print this. File, print. Everything looks good. We're going to go ahead and print it. Okay, let me grab this paper while we wait for that to print. This is the paper we started with. Okay, so we're going to print this out, and for some reason that does not look right. No, not even close to right. What happened here? This didn't change. Our image size didn't change. We changed it, but for some reason it didn't change. So let me try to resize image size. 3.08. Okay, there we go. For some reason when I changed it up here, it didn't change. I had to go to image size to change the image size. So let's print this out again. More scrap paper. See, now we got just this. It's zoomed way in because for some reason our canvas size changed. So resize canvas. Again, 8-inch wide, 11 inches high. Okay, now let's check print again, see what it looks like. Looks good. Let's print it. I promise we're going to get this right. That looks a lot closer. Okay, so let's fold this piece of paper here just so we can get a good, accurate read on those dimensions. I just folded it so the bottom of that is with that. Now I'm going to check it against this and see how those marks are exactly the same. That's what you want to do, because if they're not exactly the same, either you've entered the wrong measurement or you cropped it wrong. Okay, so they have to be the same. So there, we're good. All right, now that we have that where we need it, let's go to Hornaday's website. Okay, pull up Hornaday's website up here. Go to the ballistic calculator, the standard ballistic calculator. Okay, standard, and then name a calculation. We're going to put in AR-15. Good enough. Standard, max range 500 yards. I'm going to select 50-yard intervals. My ballistic coefficient of my bullet, excuse me, is 0.255. My velocity is 2,400 feet a second. The weight of my bullet is a 55 grain. Vmax, drag coefficient is G1. Zero range is 100. My sight height, the sight height is pretty important, which I measured, which I have another video that shows you how to do this, but my sight height is 2.5 inches. Shooting angle is 0. I was on flat ground when I was shooting it. I'm not going to put any wind or angle of wind. I am, however, going to put my altitude, which is 2,500 feet, roughly. Temperature, I'm going to leave at 59. Relative humidity, yeah, probably 78. I mean, that's probably close. Go ahead and I'm going to hit calculate. Okay, and here is my ballistic data that it give out. It has everything I entered up here. At 500 yards, I am 5.5 mils come up in elevation. Okay, 0.2 at 50. 0 means I'm sighted in 100. So let's print that out, just so I have a copy of it. But we can actually use this screen to enter our data down here. Okay? So if I'm zeroed at 100, I know that's the end of my paper. Okay? That's where the 0 is. So I'm going to go right to, well, I could go to 150, but it's only 0.3 mils, so that's kind of pointless. 200 right here is 0.7 mils. So I'm going to go here to 0.7. I'm going to select the text tab in Photoshop. I am going to go to 0.7. That didn't work. Select text again. Okay, 200 yards is 0.7. I'm going to go to 0.5, 0.6, 0.7 mils right here. And I am going to type in a 2 for 200 yards. Now I have the color selected to black. And now I can see how I can move this 2 around. Woo. So I want the 2 at 0.7, and I want to stay relatively straight. Okay, so I drop it right there at 0.7. Now I move on to 300, and that is 2 mils. Okay, so we're gonna move this 3 over to 2 mils. That is 300 yards. We'll move right on to 400, which is 3.5 mils. Get it straightened out here. Now we're going to go to 500, which is 5.5 mils. Okay, now we can backtrack the 50 yards. So 450 is 4.5. Okay, now on these ones, I'm sure there's a certain way to do it, but I just use an L. Then I drag the L halfway on the picture and halfway off of the picture, just so it leaves me just the top part of the L, so it's just like a little tick mark. 350 yards is 9 point, well that ain't right, that's anyway. 350 is 2.7 mils, so 2.7 mils, put another L, drag it down, I don't claim to be no computer genius. That's for sure. That's why I'm doing this. But trust me, if I can fumble through this and figure this out, you guys can figure this out. Especially if you watch this video. Hopefully it's informative. So what's 250? 1.3 mils. So 1.3 mils is 250. All right. Okay, now that we have all those marked, we are going to go over here to where it says background. We had to scroll down. I'm going to click on that eyeball. That is going to shut my background off. See how I just have these on here now? Transparent background. We're going to print that. We're going to print it with no background. But before we print it, I am going to take a sheet of paper like this. I'm going to draw an arrow on it that is to me. That arrow points to me, and this is the top of the paper as it lays in the printer tray. Okay? So then we're going to go ahead and print this thing. So we know where exactly it's going to print on this paper. And the orientation. So I'm going to throw this in the printer tray. We're going to go ahead and select print. Okay, and if that was to me, and that was the top, that's how it printed. So I'm going to cover that up. I'm going to get some tape. I'm going to cut off one of these address labels, and I'm going to tape it down over top of that. Okay, I have an address label. It still has the backing on it, so I did not peel it off to stick yet. Boy, and it's not all going to fit on there. Bummer. Might have to make it in two. Alright, I got two of those. I cut them in half. So I'm going to tape them down to my paper by covering up where the printer printed. Okay, because I'm going to print right to the top of this address label. Now I'm sure there's probably a different way of doing this, but like I say, I'm not super tech savvy, so this will work just fine for me. Okay, I got them taped over top. Now I will put this back in the printer, how it's oriented. And I will go ahead and print this again. Print. You know, it'd probably make more sense to get longer address labels. But that's all I have right now. But obviously you can get longer ones when you do it, so you're sure to cover up the whole thing with one piece. Alright. And there it is. It printed on this address label. Get these cut up, and I'll be back with you. Alright. Now I got those cut out, and I'm going to bring my ballistics data over here. And I'm going to use the paper I started with. Okay? So I'm going to check my ballistics data, and at 300 yards, I am 2 mils in come up. Okay, so over the 3 over the 2 mils of come up, I'm going to put the 3 right over top of that, or just so I can mark it good. Okay, and I'm going to verify that 200 yards is 0.7 mils, which it is, lined up nice. So I'm going to mark this paper at the end of that so I know where to cut it off. Okay. Same thing with the 500. and the 400. 500 yards, 5.5 mils. I'm going to put it right over top of that 5.5 mils mark, and I'm going to mark it to the end of my paper. Now I know where to cut those, okay? So I'll get those cut off, and then we will stick it on the turret. Alright, got those cut off. Now we're going to see about putting it on this turret. So the same thing, we're going to use our ballistics data, and we are going to, where we have a nice tick mark for the 250, let's use 250, 1.3 mils, okay? Now we need to get the sticky back off of this thing, which is probably going to be easier said than done. Well, there's that one. Okay, 250 was 1.3 mils. So we find 1.3 mils on here. There's 1.3 mils. 200 was 0.7, so it's all looking pretty good. Okay, so let's finish sticking this down around the turret here. Okay, now let's double check it. 300 yards, 2 mils. We're right on top of 2 mils. So we just continue on around here with our other half, like if I would have had longer address labels. So I'm going to go ahead and put the 400 right over the 3.5. Stick it down. There it is, all the way around there. Okay, there's the 0, which is 100 yards. I left a little gap there. 5.5 mils is 500 yards. So there we have it. Now I can reinstall that on the gun, and we are good to go. Okay, I got the turret back installed on the gun. Now we can just turn to the yardage that we want to shoot, and we should be good. Now, this turret's set for 2,500 feet, where I currently am. If I decide to take this over to the mountains and do some hunting, then I'm going to have to build a 5,000 foot turret. But, right now, I have this turret paper. I'm going to write Mark AR scope and 2,500 feet. Okay? Now I can put this and save this. So I always have this to build a turret for this scope. So that's it. Thanks for watching.